everyone, this is Becca from Becca's Music Room. I'm a music teacher who talks about teacher tips, teacher life, teacherpreneurs, and all things that might hopefully make your life just a little bit easier. Today I'm here with another video in the Becca's Book Babble series to talk about a bunch of books that I have been reading lately. So this is going to be a lot of really small reviews. I wanted to get this up in time for most of you to have during the summer. By the time you see this, I will be back in school, but I know a lot of other people have like a whole nother month off, so I wanted to get these up for you. I have quite a few books here that are just all over the place because I read a very varied, wide variety of books, so you'd think I'd be able to talk. I'm gonna start with nonfiction and kind of go through and get like more fun as we go, and end with fiction and my favorite fiction book that I have read so far that I am super excited about. So without further ado, we're gonna get started. If you find this video interesting, please make sure you like, subscribe, and share so that we can share our book recommendations with other teachers. So the first book I'm going to talk about is in my nonfiction category, and it is called $1 Million Habits by Brian Tracy. If you've been around for a while, then you know that I talk about Brian Tracy a lot because he has many books. I think this is the fourth book I read by him that talk about habits and success and building wealth and just all those things that I find very important. So this was a study on different millionaires and things that they do. So it ranged from things to do in your business, which is really helpful if you have like a TPT business or blog or anything like that, to just things to do in your life. So it talks a lot about like different things that millionaires do that is really important. One thing I found super fascinating about this book is that one of the biggest habits was that millionaires read books. It said in here that the average millionaire reads about 12 books a year, and the average non-millionaire reads less than one book a year. Like not even one book, less than one book a year. So that's a nice fun fact you can go share with your students, that millionaires read lots of books, and that might help get them going. But it was really interesting. It talked a lot about just all these different things, a lot of mindset shifts and money thoughts that you should have or shouldn't have that really change how you view money and also how you spend it and acquire it. It talks a lot about business stuff, so if you have your own business, definitely read through it. Even if you don't, even if you're like, I'm a teacher, I make like no money, still read it because it'll help you change your mind about money habits and help you become a millionaire, because it's all about that compound interest, so it is possible. The second book I'm going to talk about is called Go See the Principal by, I'm not sure if this is Gary or Jerry Brooks. This book was really interesting, but not as practical as I hoped. I had no idea what it was going to be. So part of me was like, well, maybe it's just going to be like a collection of stories. And the other part of me was like, well, maybe it's going to be practical advice to help me. It wasn't really either of those things. It was a lot of like really general topics, very entertaining. Very entertaining. I really enjoyed reading it. I read it very quickly, but they talk about everything from the lunchroom to the principal's office, snacks, and it's very varied. Like, so part of it talks to, it's like part of it talks to teachers, part of it talks to parents, part of it talks to principals. It was very entertaining, but not the most practical book ever. I actually have a whole video about this, so I'm not going to talk about it too much. If you want to see like a whole review and things that I found interesting in this book, you can go check that out. I'm not sure if it'll be out before this one or not, because I get all confused when I try to figure out when something else is coming out in relation to this. I don't know. So if that's out, I will link it. If not, then keep an eye out. The next book I'm going to talk about is called Own Your Everyday by Jordan Lee Dooley. I just finished this book this week. And the mantra says, overcome the pressure to prove and show up for what you were made to do. This book was so good. I didn't know who Jordan Lee Dooley was. I picked this up because I was doing a like teacher book club, and this is the book they picked, and it was so good. It talks a lot about mindset. It talks about just overcoming fear and shyness, being vulnerable, all those kind of things that are really, really helpful and very inspirational, and just makes me feel like I can do it. So I think I'll probably do a standalone video on this one as well, but I would highly recommend it, especially if you are someone who maybe feels shy or insecure or anything like that. Like, it really helped me come into myself a little bit more. So definitely recommend it. Super, super good. Also read it pretty quickly, so pretty good. The next book I'm going to talk about is like everybody's favorite, and that is Girl Stop Apologizing by Rachel Hollis. Everybody really likes this book now that I'm looking at it. I think I might have actually talked about it in the last video. I don't know. It's hard to remember like what I talked about in that one, what I didn't. But I'm going to talk about it anyway. So I loved this book. It was super helpful, super inspirational, really helped me with not just goal setting, but goal getting, and also being really honest and upfront about my goals. I did already post, it came out actually today, the day I'm filming this, a video all about this one, so I'm going to link that down below so you can check out my whole review and what my goals are that I'm proclaiming into the world because of Miss Rachel Hollis. And if I did talk about this in the last one, sorry. The next one I read is also nonfiction, but it is a little bit more fun. So this is a historical tour of Walt Disney World, and this is by Andrew Keist. I'm not sure. He is actually a teacher, which is really super cool. I didn't know that when I picked it up. I picked it up because I was like, ooh, Walt Disney World. I'll read that. I've been twice this year, so clearly I enjoy it. And it was really fascinating. It went super in-depth into a lot of these rides and restaurants and things, and sometimes a little bit too in-depth. Like, it was, I mean, pages and pages, and I was like, okay, that might be a little bit too much information. So if you're not like really into Disney, I probably wouldn't read this, but for me, I am really into Disney, so I thought it was really cool. But it goes super deep into like the background, the research, all these little tidbits that I never noticed about these things, and just really cool, and I found it really interesting. There's actually 3 of these books. I think this one is 1 and 2 combined. And then I think there's a 3rd one. So I guess I'm going to have to get the 3rd one and read that one as well. So this one talks about Crystal Palace, Main Street USA, Pirates of the Caribbean, The Jungle Cruise, Spaceship Earth, like all those different things, and it talks about the history, why they do it, what it looks like, and again, lots of details into both the history and what it is. So I found this really fascinating. It made me want to go back through all these rides that I haven't been on in a while and like really pay attention to them now that I know more about them. So there's that. All right, those are all the nonfiction books that I have been reading this summer. I have a few fiction books. It's kind of like 2, kind of like 8. So bear with me. So first of all, I have been reading The Chronicles of Narnia. I am not quite finished. I am in the middle of book 5 out of 7, if you're not familiar. And I have loved these. They are so good. So I've watched all 3 of the movies that were out when I was a kid. There's 7 books, there's only 3 movies. And I only read like 1 or 2 as a kid, and I decided I wanted to read them now. And I am blown away by how much I love them. Like, I didn't think I would be that into them. I didn't think I would enjoy them that much because they're kids' books, but they are so good. And I love anything that is in like a different world. You know, I like Harry Potter and those kind of things. And I really enjoy, there's a lot of Bible connections that they make in here, which if you're not Christian, you can still read them, and you probably won't even pick up on most of them. If you are a Christian, it makes you feel like God is there with you. It is wonderful. So like I said, I'm actually in the middle of book 5. I never know when to make these videos. Like, do I finish everything? Do I talk about it before I'm finished? I don't know. Which is Voyage of the Dawn Treader. Out of the first ones, I can't decide if my favorite is book 3 or book 4. So Prince Caspian's the one I just finished. It was so good. It was so good. I really enjoyed it, but I also really enjoyed number 3, which is The Horse and His Boy. There is not a movie about that, and I think that's part of the reason why I liked it so much, was just because it was kind of new. I don't know. They're all just so good. Really enjoying them. Really, They're each about 200 to 250 pages, and they're pretty small, so each one's taken me a couple days to finish, which is good since there's 7. But I would highly recommend them, whether you're a Christian or not. Like, super entertaining, really great, and your kids would love them as well. It's not like in your face Jesus, so if you didn't tell them it was Christian, they wouldn't realize it. The last book I'm going to talk about is one of my favorites. I'm super excited about this one, and it is called The Fortune Hunter by Daisy Goodwin. So if you've been watching my vlogs, I have been raving about this book because it was so good. Daisy Goodwin has 3 different books. I actually have all of them. Here's one. The American Heiress, Victoria, which I read last summer, and then this one, which I just read this summer. And all of her books are those, like, cannot put them down, cannot stop thinking about them, gotta read them, amazing. But they're a little bit longer. So this one was like 460 pages, I want to say. Yeah. And I was so grateful because I couldn't put it down, so I was reading it so quickly, but it was longer, so it did take me like a week or a week and a half to actually get finished. But it was so good. It was set in the 1800s. Historical fiction is my favorite. And it just talked about it was all centered around one particular girl and her love interest and what happens to her. But it's not like super lovey-dovey, but it was really good. And you get to meet Queen Victoria in it, and the Empress of Austria is a huge player in it as well. So I absolutely positively loved it. It was not 100% appropriate, just a heads up, but it was really stinking good, and not like super in detail, so you'd probably be fine. But I did want to put that caveat in there. So really good. Highly, highly, highly recommend. Out of all of them, I would probably recommend this one, and I would probably recommend these 2 above anything else, obviously, since I think I've talked about this already. Really good, really good, really good. So I'm curious, what have you been reading? Please leave them in the comments down below, because even though I'm going back to school, I will still be reading, because if you have heard me talk about self-care, I talk about how reading is my biggest form of it, and I try to read every single day. I don't always succeed, but I try. So I will continue to be reading even though school's starting. If you've read something really interesting this summer, whether it is about school, whether it's nonfiction and inspirational, whether it's fiction, leave it down below. Let me know so that I will have some things to read for the future. If you found this video helpful, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share so other people can find it too, and have a wonderful, wonderful week.